The following podcast contains opinion and commentary protected by the First Amendment and fair use. It may also contain adult themes, adult concepts, and adult language not suitable for children. Viewer discretion is advised. Oh me, oh my. Oh me, oh my. Welcome again back to the cubbyhole. It's the day after yesterday when we posted the very grand and glorious triumph of Laura Owens losing her appeal in the Arizona Court of Appeals after losing her trial with Judge Julie Mata over the Laura Owens versus Clayton Echard case. And just to demonstrate that crazy comes in multiples, Laura has spoken. Laura has spoken. But her lawyer has not. Her lawyer is hiding. He is hiding in plain sight even. And this is so funny. I heard someone else point this out, so it's worth it's worth showing. David S. Gingras Esquire, the douche canoe, which, oops, I just hit the button wrong. Oh, you got to turn the fader back up.
The fucking douche canoe.
There we go. We need to have that ready. David Gingras Esquire is hiding. Now, unless you're in the inner sanctum of his very few acolytes. What does it say? There's only, 524 following. 100. How do those numbers work? You have 524 following, and then 1,125 followers. I don't get it. The numbers don't make much sense to me, and maybe it doesn't matter because this is about Laura Owens. I think her lawyer has got his tail tucked between his legs. But that hasn't stopped Laura Owens, the pregnancy scammer, from flapping her gums on her favorite place to do so, where, well, no one will challenge her because she doesn't allow posts on her articles anymore. She stopped that a very long time ago, probably more than a year. But we have it here, ladies and gentlemen. It hit today, as far as I'm aware. Or at least according to Medium, it hit just now. And the delusional insanity of this woman doubling and tripling and quadrupling and quintupling down on her bullshit, which every court so far has seen fit to wipe their asses with. But that won't stop her from using her freedom of speech. She's welcome to do so. And we are here to mock her for being so, well, damaged and delusional, I suppose. That's the kind thing to do. Really, I have an itch to use a whole lot of misogynistic words, but I won't. I'll play nice right now because this is just so laughable, this whole thing, just as her other Medium articles have been. There's nothing new that we haven't heard here, and she tries to refute the appellate court, who was so thorough and their slapping down of David Gingras Esquire.
The fucking douche canoe.
There's really no way to recover. I mean, she's completely entitled, as far as I know, to attempt to take this to the Supreme Court. I would presume this is the Supreme Court of Arizona. I don't know how it could go all the way to SCOTUS federally, because this isn't a criminal case. She would have to go through a lot more hoops, I think, for anything to get remotely far. And I don't see that happening. I don't see any legitimate lawyer on the planet saying that this is going to go any further. In fact, I think I'll put my neck out just a little bit and say that if she does indeed try to file this in the Supreme Court, that they'll decline. I think the appellate court did such a thorough job. There's really nowhere for her to go, but she'll try, because this is what sort of the Laura Owens personal cult of one. This is how it operates. Laura's never wrong. Laura never does anything wrong. Laura is always right. Laura always gets her way. And she'll destroy the universe before that doesn't happen, because she's entitled, as mums and dadums has always allowed her to be. Like I said yesterday, this comes from bad parenting and a few other things. Now, normally I don't like to hypothesize on mental health issues, but we will. I think she's got a delusional condition. Now, I don't think it's so delusional where she doesn't know that she can't distinguish from right and wrong. I think this is a delusional condition just from being pampered and coddled and never told no by her parents her entire life. That's what I think this is from. Now, whether or not that's in the DSM-5, well, that's beyond me. I could look it up, but let's not waste any time, because, I don't know if you're like me, having a good stockpile of toilet paper to wipe one's ass with, like her Medium article, is certainly worth having around. You can never have too much TP, right? Shall we begin? Now, I'm going to resist the urge and the temptation, as great as it is, to read this entire thing in Laura Owens' voice.
That's the one that sounds like this, Your Honor.
We'll resist that temptation, because the feedback in my monitors is I can only handle so much for so long. We can certainly handle douche canoe forever.
The fucking douche canoe.
But Laura Owens' voice, that just gets grating after a while. And I don't quite have the Megan Fox vocal fry. Yeah, Your Honor. No, I'm not going to do that. Megan, bless you. I wish I had your vocal stylings to do Laura Owens, because you do it so well. But here we are. Today, fresh, hot off Laura's bullshit press. One paternity petition, 6-figure sanctions, and a fight that could go all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. Well, that's delusional thinking right there. There's not a whole lot of wiggle room. And if she thinks it's only going to sit at 6 figures, trying to take this all the way to U.S. Supreme Court, she better start adding some zeros. And I've said this. Others have said it. She probably will. She'll probably try it. And then she'll try to scoot out from it by declaring bankruptcy. We've seen it. We saw this in the Jen Camp case, didn't we? I think Laura's cut from a very similar cloth, delusionally thinking to Jen Camp and religious nonsense and cult religion. Isn't it funny? Wouldn't it be ironic if Laura Owens had a Mormon past? Wouldn't that be hysterical? It would be to part of me and all of my ex-Mormonism. But isn't it strikingly similar? Perhaps there are other apples that don't fall far from the tree. When she was talking to Clayton, about doing the right thing, and she shouldn't abort her non-existent twin babies that she non-existently had sex to create. I mean, come on. Pardon my insulting Catholics just for a minute, but Immaculate Conception certainly doesn't exist here in the real world, because no one's had it other than allegedly Mary with Jesus. And depending on what sort of theologian you are, one could question that on its own. Why am I talking about this? Why are we getting well, it's Sunday. Ugh. I've done my time for Jesus. Let's get back to Laura Owens. because there's been nothing immaculately conceived from her ever. Ever. Not once. And she'll go on to, try and parrot her narrative for as long as she can. And I think she's going to keep doing that until she finds herself behind bars in an orange jumpsuit. But that's just my opinion. And this is why I think she needs to stop. I don't think there's anyone in her life who's going to tell her to stop. Because, well, if she had that sort of self-awareness, she might have prevented any of this from even happening to begin with. But here we are. It says it's 7-minute read, but I don't believe them. I think there's far more pages than that. Here we go. Look, there's the red sweater picture. Isn't that marvelous? Oh. For those of you who watched Laura Knighty, she wore the red sweater and the fake hair in her last group podcast about Laura's losing appeal. It was great fun. Great fun. I highly recommend you go check out Lauren's channel and enjoy that 2.5 or so hours of absolutely trash talking Laura and her loser attorney.
The fucking douche canoe.
Because they lost. They lost big, and not even Laura has the neurons firing to realize how painfully she lost. But, well, when you're never told no and you're used to always getting your way like a spoiled child who's never been spanked, not that I necessarily endorse physical discipline with children, but, some sort of discipline must be engaged. Otherwise, you create children like Laura Owens, who abuse people. Maybe I should stop preaching, even though it's Sunday. Let's read. Craziness. When I filed a paternity petition against Clayton Echard, a former star of The Bachelor, I trusted the court system would do what it was built to do: evaluate facts, apply the law, and deliver fairness. And that's exactly what they did. It just didn't go your way, Laura, as it shouldn't have. Because your narrative, your falsification of documents, which should be a crime, the fake actions you brought against multiple men, including this action, were all fraudulently had. But we get it. You live in a world that only you can shape. Everyone else is wrong but you. Class A narcissism. She says, I had medical documentation of my pregnancy. Well, which you admitted were fraud. You faked them. The Fiverr logo said everything. You stole that sonogram from another woman and claimed it as your own. More than Arizona law even requires, and every legal right to file. Well, sure. People can file whatever they want. But most intelligent people only file things that are based in fact and based in law. Yours, Laura, was none of those things, as the trial court rightfully determined, and the appellate court also rightly determined in a unanimous ruling, it seems. Three justices, 3 judges reviewed that case. And you're still the loser, Laura. I think if you are to go any further, you're going to have a whole lot more justices determine that you're a loser and determine you owe Clayton Echard a shit ton of money. And that shit ton of money is going to increase the longer you prolong this bullshit. So stop, Laura. Stop now. What followed was what an awkward sentence. What followed was not only a pregnancy miscarriage. Oh, grammar, Laura, grammar. What followed was not only. Oh my God. Okay, let's just keep going. But also miscarriage of justice so severe it demands public scrutiny and judicial correction. Well, the public is speaking, Laura, and they're not on your side. Is anyone on your side other than the crazy family who endorse your behavior? The crazy family who let you continue this charade rather than saying, enough, Laura. Stop it. Behave yourself or you'll lose your internet privileges for a year. They should. Well, I know. She's an adult. She's an adult who can't hold down a job and is living in the pool house behind her parents' house. Choices. Choices were made, and so far none of them good. If you're interested in the we're not interested. We know the background. We've covered some of it, a good chunk of it on this channel, including the most salient details of the trial. But this essay isn't about background. It's about what happened next. Well, you lost. That's what happened next. You lost so poorly that the justices, the judges on the appellate court, must have been laughing at how horrific your lawyer is. And that's why David S. Gingras Esquire
The fucking douche canoe.
is hiding his Twitter. He doesn't want to be harassed. Well, no one should harass him. We'll mock him. We can try and ask him for comments and responses. He's probably going to ignore anyone who reaches out to him for eternity now. And like I said yesterday, if he had the smarts, he should give it up. He should just, if it's not taken away from him already, he should just put that bar card away and never pull it out again. Because it didn't go well here. It hasn't gone well for him before. And I doubt it will go well with this case, even since. I believe the Arizona Court of Appeals would correct the clear and devastating errors made by a Maricopa County Superior Court in June 2024. Instead, they reinforced them. Let me explain exactly how and why this case matters to everyone, not just me. Yes, it matters to everyone because you're a conniving bitch. You're a cunty woman who goes around abusing men for the sport of it. And when you don't get your way, you slap them with restraining orders. That's telltale cunt signs to me. And I'm not using that word gratuitously just for shock and awe tactic. I firmly believe this woman acts like a cunt because that's what we see. We see her using the judicial process to absolutely berate and terrorize everyone who's done her wrong. Because they said, no, Laura, I'm not interested in marrying you or having a relationship with you. But I'm pregnant. You have to. No, I don't. I give those men lots of credit for standing up to this lunacy that her parents have absolutely no stones to fix. And I suppose we could say, well, she's an adult. That time has come and gone. But it shows how much of a failure Ron Owens, the famed broadcaster from San Francisco, and his wife, also a broadcaster, Jan Black. It shows what an utter failure as parents they are. And knowing that Laura has a sister, and I think that's all. I think it's just 2 girls they had, as far as I know. How the other one has managed to get married and sort of have a life of their own is astonishing. I would dare say that it exceeded the curve based on what we see with Laura. Number 1, they upheld a ruling built on evidence that never existed. Well, yes, the evidence that never existed, Laura, was yours. Falsified medical documents are not evidence. Non-existent records of a Planned Parenthood visit that never took place is not evidence. Doctor's appointments that were never actually executed and were canceled before you even appeared are not evidence. Stolen sonograms from other women that you had doctored and presented as your own is not evidence. Various other claims of things of sexual misconduct by other men, including opposing counsel, which, of course, none of that occurred. It's all fiction. It's all fantastical creations of her very disturbed mind. None of it, none of those things that she claimed were her pregnancies ever took place. So far, 2 courts have ruled that way. And dare I say, if this goes to any more courts, they will further rule that way. And this is why I think the Maricopa County Prosecutor's Office, Rachel, I had it earlier, darn it, Rachel something. Send them lots of letters that, okay, the appeals, the Court of Appeals has chimed in it's time to get the prosecution rolling. Because as Laura stated at the beginning, she wants this to go all the way to Supreme Court. She is such a self-built martyr that she can't see it happening any other way. And not only is it tragic, but it's disturbing. Because it proves that this woman will continue. She'll continue doing this pattern of behavior until something or someone stops her. God help us, if you believe in such things. In her June 18, 2024 ruling, Maricopa County Superior Court Judge Julianne Mata included a critical error in her findings of fact. She claimed that Echard's expert testified the Planned Parenthood clinic I referenced was closed on the day I visited. That testimony does not exist. It was never offered, never entered into evidence, and appears nowhere in the transcript from June 10, 2024 hearing. The expert never said it, and neither did anyone else. And that's true, generally speaking. But as the appellate court decided, it had no bearing on the outcome of the case. It was not a critical piece in her fabricating a pregnancy. No, this was not a clerical mistake. It was extrajudicial. Well, no. The alleged product of Judge Mata's own independent research, which is not a legally permissible source of evidence. And again, you haven't proven that, Laura. You can't, as the court said, just make suppositions and claims and have absolutely no evidence for those. You make a lot of wild claims, Laura, that just don't exist. Arizona law is clear, she says. Judges must base their rulings exclusively on evidence presented and admitted at trial. True. According to blah, 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 12-2103, appellate courts may only affirm rulings that are supported by the trial record, meaning evidence formally admitted during proceedings. When judges introduce outside information, the fairness of the process is compromised. That's not a technicality, that's a due process violation. The appellate court disagrees entirely because you have no evidence. You have no facts that suggest anything. The appellate court acknowledged the mistake in their March 28, 2025 ruling, but dismissed its importance, writing, even assuming the court erroneously relied on information not in evidence, Owen fails to explain how that reliance prejudiced the outcome of the proceeding. That's true. It's an accurate representation by the Court of Appeals. The law doesn't require a showing of exact harm. Courts have long recognized that when credibility is assessed using material outside the record, the error is structural. It undermines the integrity of the proceeding itself. You know, I'm starting to think that maybe she isn't the only author of this article. It's not quite as theatrical as the douche canoe.
The fucking douche canoe.
And his writings. But it obviously has some of his DNA all over it. Take that how you will. The appellate court had a responsibility to step in. Instead, they shrugged and, in doing so, set a dangerous precedent, one where judges can import unsupported claims into their rulings. That is a permission slip for judicial overreach. No. Because the appellate court find it had no significant bearing on it was irrelevant. It was irrelevant. And not a keystone in this case. And this wasn't a criminal case, which they also discussed, which would be an area of concern. Number 2, they ignored Arizona law and my medical evidence. Well, I feel like we could skip through all of this because the court was very thorough in its citing of law. It was very clear. Here she goes. Why do I torture myself this way? We do this for the good of the common folk, don't we? Oh, Arizona law does not require proof of pregnancy to file a paternity petition, blah, 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 blah. Well, all that's required is a good faith allegation. Well, your allegation, Laura, was not in good faith. Because there is yet to be a woman alive on this planet who has legitimately gotten pregnant by sucking off a guy. Right? There's certain medical facts that have to be acknowledged here. And again, unless you think you're the Virgin Mary, and you're probably delusional enough to think you're that special. You're not going to get pregnant that way. I mean, goodness knows gay men tried to do that. I'm guilty of such. But no babies have resulted yet, for which we're grateful. I submitted lab confirmed. No, none of this was lab confirmed. And in fact, RavGen, the lab that both Clayton and Laura submitted to, concluded there was little to no fetal DNA. Now they have to use the word little for litigation purposes, right? It's a safeguard. They could have just said there was no fetal DNA because there was none, because you weren't pregnant. You had nothing. That thing is as barren as the Serengeti. There hasn't been a baby in there, and there likely never will be at the rate you're going. And then if any of your other medical things are actually factual, I think, what was it, endometriosis was one of them or something like that, it would be extremely difficult for you to have a random pregnancy anyhow, because that's just medical fact. Yet Judge Mata ruled I was not pregnant. You weren't. And you couldn't prove that you were. You had every opportunity to have actual evidence. Multiple times. Multiple hearings. Back and forth litigation. You didn't even comply with the discovery, Laura. You danced and hid. I wouldn't doubt if you spoliated some evidence on your little computer and on your phone, just to hide your tracks at the criminal behavior you've engaged in. The criminal behavior that pulled the wool over the eyes for you to get protection orders against people like Craig Gillespie and Mike Maricini and so forth. Hopefully the courts will see through this a little further and charge you for the crimes you really have committed. They didn't cite ARS 25-804. Well, I read that at least 3 times yesterday. They didn't explain how someone who meets and exceeds... No, you didn't meet or exceed anything. I'm just going to start truncating because I'm starting to get angry. Evil people like this make me angry. Because she is. She's evil. She's evil, and I think she deserves time in prison. That's just my opinion. I might be vindictive enough to hope it actually happens, because I don't think she's going to stop. I really don't. If a woman who submits medical proof can be told she made it all up, which you did, Laura, what chance does anyone have? What is the legal standard? What is the legal standard now? Certainty beyond miscarriage, full-term delivery, because that's not what the statute says. The statute also says you have to have evidence, and you didn't produce anything that was legitimate. Not one shred. 3, I tried to withdraw. They sanctioned me anyway. Well, if there was anything legitimate, why would you withdraw? Other than you got caught with your pants down, so to speak. Well, so did Clayton, but that's his problem. I think Clayton learned a very valuable lesson. Don't drop your pants for any woman you don't fully trust. And you could say that in just about any consenting adult relationship, right? These are just some of the things you learn. If you don't want to deal with crazy, don't stick anything in it. She goes on to ramble on about Rule 26, as only David Gingras could. We'll skip some of that, because it wasn't about Rule 26, as the Court of Appeals stated, as the trial court stated. That isn't the only avenue to sanction. And the appellate court was very clear about that. She whines. She whines in this paragraph how she thinks that she should be exempt. She should be exempt. And that's what entitlement does to people like her. It does that to a lot of people of privilege and of status. They think they should be able to engage in these intrigues and criminal acts without ever being punished, without ever seeing prosecution. I hope that changes with her. This should be a warning to anyone trying to do this. I don't care about safe harbor provisions in this situation. She talks about it right there. This safe harbor provision is meant to protect litigants from being blindsided by crippling financial penalties without warning. Well, Laura, if you didn't want to risk financial ruin by continuing on with your lies, you shouldn't have done it. This is why the court said everything was brought in bad faith. Because you didn't want to do something in the court system to right a legitimate wrong. You just wanted to use it to abuse people. You wanted to use it to terrorize these men who rejected you. Now justice has come home to roost, and it's going to cost you a lot. It's going to cost you more than what the trial court originally set out. I hope you're prepared for that. And if you really are foolish enough to continue this further up to appeal, you may ruin the rest of your life financially, among other things. If you're foolish enough to continue this at all, you may as well just kiss the rest goodbye. Because no one's going to want to hire you for anything, and you're not going to be financially solvent to do anything. And you've not only ruined yourself, but you've ruined your parents and your family. That GoFundMe for your father's alleged medical problems, hundreds of thousands of dollars, I think many of us see through that for what it is. A grift to try and save yourself from the sanctions that 2 courts now have awarded to Clayton Echard for your nonsense. After I miscarried, the paternity case was on the court calendar for dismissal. Yeah, we've heard this. We heard this yesterday. I had no intention of continuing litigation because no babies existed. And you were called out. They figured out your ruse. So you had to come up with something. Whoops, as I hit a button. Oh, that's terrible. Go back, go back, go back. That day in court when she was adjusting the fake baby bump, the one probably from Amazon made out of latex. That was very entertaining. I've never seen anyone knock their tits around so much trying to adjust a fake baby belly. What small tits they are. Oh, I know, that's getting catty. Oh, we shouldn't talk about Laura's appearance. But that's what happened. She was jiggling that thing around that hideous romper to hide the straps of the fake belly. It was sort of a brown dress with sort of these weird colored sleeves. And I could see the lines. I could see the lines of the fake baby bump on her shoulders. Did anyone else see that? See, that's the thing. And here I am telling a little bit more of my Mormon story without needing to, because this is about Laura Owens. But for just a moment, just a brief moment, I'm going to make this about myself. In Mormonism, when you're an endowed member, meaning you're of certain ability, usually it has to do with a combination of age and finances. You can go to the temple. You have to have a temple recommend, meaning you have to pay tithing. Most people get them before they get married or go on a mission for the Mormon Church. And without getting into all the details of telling Mormon stories, you get your special magic Mormon underwear. And we use the term magic rather loosely these days because, well, Mormonism tries to sidestep some of the faith-promoting stories of forcing its members who have been endowed in the Mormon temple for wearing the special underwear. But one of the things you learn from that is you check what are called garment lines. You're always checking to see who other members are by where those lines of the magic Mormon underwear hit on the body, just above the knees or right at the knees, and the certain shoulders, both for men and women. So it's really easy to tell. And it becomes a thing. It becomes a thing you do being a member of church, looking for those lines, looking for underwear lines. I still do it, but for very different reasons these days. Very, very different reasons. Okay, I'm revealing too much. Back to Laura. Anyhow, where was I going? Yes, I was talking about the lines of her baby bump. And when she jiggled it, you could see sort of the whole ensemble, that whole fake latex and the straps and everything. You could see it all move. All of it moved. It was a great day to watch that whole thing. Just she's not a very good actor. She's not good at playing a mother. She's not good at faking a pregnancy. I hope no one ever hires her for TV because she's terrible. She doesn't make a very convincing actress at all. She rambles on about things being unfair. It's not just a technicality. It's a due process violation. Well, no, Laura, it's not. The appellate court flatly disagrees with you there, and, well, it's their opinion that matters, judicially speaking, not yours. The law doesn't require a showing of exact harm. Well, but harm was shown nonetheless. You've harmed Clayton Echard. They were able to show how. Courts have long recognized that when credibility is assessed using material outside the record, and see, this is Gingras talking. This is Gingras talking. Who did the typing? Did they share? Did Laura do a little and then baby Jingy do a little more? Jingy the douche canoe?
The fucking douche canoe.
I would love to know how this was authored. Wouldn't you? The appellate court had a responsibility to step in. Instead, they shrugged in doing so. Oh, did we already read this? Oh, for heaven's sake. We did. Let's skip some of this. See, this is how important this nonsense is to me. I'm just jumping around willy-nilly. Willy-nilly. Oh, yes, that's right. Judge Mata, yes, ruled she was not pregnant because there was nothing to verify that. There was nothing factual. There's nothing scientifically based other than Laura saying, well, just believe me, Judge. That's not how it works, Laura. Facts have to be facts. Conjecture does not stand up. I'm repeating myself a little bit because there's so many tangents in my thinking right now, but that's okay. Yes, she tried to withdraw, but she was sanctioned because Clayton, after being drugged through the mud by this bitch, decided he wasn't just going to take it on the chin and disappear. He decided enough was enough, and he said, with me, this stops. And so he said, no, I'm not going to let you just dismiss this because you drugged me through the mud. You made claims that you couldn't prove. You said I'm the father of this thing because you sucked me off once or twice. We know it was twice. And by some strange miracle, you claim to have babies that you can't prove exist? No, I'm not just going to take that lying down, Laura. Not anymore. You only got that privilege once. And it's not going to happen again for Clayton. And hopefully, enough men see this where it's not going to happen to any of them. I remember in one of David's podcasts, if we want to call it that, the David Gingras Douche Canoe podcast.
The fucking douche canoe.
Where he alleged in one of it was either the last or the second to last that's still posted there. Until he starts deleting them. I don't care. Where he claimed that Laura was seeing somebody. That's not been verified. And I'm sure it's another fiction of her imagination, just like all these twin pregnancies were a fiction of her imagination. Fiction or figment, both work. Pick your favorite word, folks. After I miscarried, which was never proven, the paternity case was on the court calendar for administrative dismissal. Well, yeah. And that's when Clayton decided no. Filed a motion for sanctions. We're skipping ahead, folks. You're welcome to read this on your own if you really want a word for word reading. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to say whatever pops into my head with a certain level of filtering. No written warning, no 10-day correction period, no opportunity to withdraw, although I already tried to. Yeah, because Clayton has a skin in this game too. This game that you brought and are failing at winning. You thought you were going to get away with it again, didn't you, Laura? But no, Clayton was a little wiser to your scam and went, wait a minute, how did this happen? This can't be true. And he saw right through the sham, enough to say, I'll put my financial status on the line to see this through, to do the right and difficult thing. And to actually get this to stop and to reveal this fraud for what it is. The Laura Owens pregnancy fraud. By affirming sanctions under these conditions, the appellate court has effectively gutted the protections of Rule 26. See, this Rule 26 wankfest is all David Gingras.
The fucking douche canoe.
Laura doesn't know Rule 25 from Rule 26 from Rule 11. She doesn't. This is David. This is David. Or it's Laura typing things to David's specifications. I'm not really sure which. This is speculation on my part. But it's clear that all this whining about how Rule 26 didn't get to work sounds like David's butthurt to me. Maybe that's why he's hiding. He just uses Laura as his little pawn to make little blurbs and little online tabloids called Medium. If left standing, this ruling will chill legitimate filings across Arizona, leaving people afraid to engage with the courts at all because even following the rules may not be enough to protect them. Well, don't bring fraudulent cases to the courts. Don't bring anything in bad faith that can't be verified with some facts and adjudicated accordingly. That's how you avoid that. Number 4, they misrepresented my motion to dismiss with prejudice. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. There's a factual basis on which such things exist. To summarize, the case was already scheduled. I chose not to pursue it further. I didn't file anything else. I was letting it close quietly because you were called out. You were discovered. Your fraud, your scam, your bullshit. I need some more words. Your load of bollocks was found out. The cat was out of the bag because there was nothing in the pussy. But then we'll just insert his name. But then Echard unexpectedly moved to revive the case. Well, no, it wasn't revived. Like I said a moment ago, he decided not to let you just sort of dick wave in his direction. And he was just going to take the slap on the face? No. No, he had more gumption than that. Only at that point did I file a motion to dismiss with prejudice, a formal request to permanently end the case, ensuring it could never be reopened. Because you were found out. You knew you were going to lose it, didn't you? The appellate court twisted nothing. No. They had it right. It's you, Laura, who twists everything. Because there's something wrong with you. There's something wrong in your head and how you see the world and how you respond and interact with it. There's something in the way you think only you can be right. You can never be wrong. I hate to say it, but people are wrong all the time. I'm wrong. My friends are wrong. Family are wrong. That's part of being human. But the good thing to do is to engage the brain a little bit. Make sure that you're doing things that are right, that you have some demonstrative evidence for, and some basis in reality and fact that what you're communicating or doing or saying or trying to accomplish is actually real and legitimate. Let me ask the obvious. Why would I refile a paternity action after I had told the court I was no longer pregnant? Well, this isn't about refiling. This is about Clayton responding to your claims you got pregnant by him, which we all know are fake. None of that existed. It was Clayton who decided that this will end with me, and you will not be allowed to proceed further with this scheme that you've concocted with a number of men and had refined pretty well. To be in a relationship with someone, they decide to leave you. You claim you're pregnant to try and codependently cling on to them for every little ounce of blood you can suck out of them. And if they don't yield to you, you slap them with personal orders of protection or any other manner of thing you can get the court to ooze out with your lies and your perjurous statements. The court never said anything that made it sound like the door's being kept open by Laura. They didn't say a word. They penalized me for appealing these very violations. Well, that's the cost, Laura, in this system of ours. There is a winner and there is a loser. And in this system, the loser pays. Because that's the right and just thing to do. If you're going to bring a seething, steamy pile of dung into the courts and claim, this is my truth. I'm Laura Owens. Listen to me. Hearken to my words. Clayton got me pregnant. You just have to believe me. Well, see, these tests I manufactured, the doctor records I created, that's true because I believe I was pregnant. No. It's not how it works. What you consider being penalized, Laura, is justice because you lost. At the end of the opinion, the appellate court wrote, Owens' petition on appeal is unreasonable. Her Rule 26 argument is not grounded in law or fact. And they said exactly why. The substantive questions here are just everything that she loses on, reframed in the form of a question. It's pointless. It's pointless because all of this is pointless. Lab confirmed urine and blood positive pregnancy test, blah, 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 blah. This is just doubling down on the dismissed evidence, which wasn't evidence. This is the dismissed fraud we're still trying to claim as legitimate facts, and it was absolutely dismissed. The trial court said, enough, Laura. We can't trust you. You've clearly perjured yourself. But she tries to frame her situation as if this happens to other women all the time, which it does not. Usually when a woman's pregnant, it's pretty obvious. And it usually results in the production of a baby. None of that has ever occurred with Laura Owens, and it's very unlikely at this point that it ever will. And if it ever would, God help the man that actually made it happen that time. She tried. She tried to lure Clayton after she claimed she was pregnant. Miraculously. Remember how tight her vagina was? Let her. If you just felt how tight I was, you would stay with me. Was essentially the gist of that. Makes no sense. She must not have much understanding how the body works, or how one gets pregnant. Maybe the lack of sex education in her life is really indicative here. We really don't know what her education about reproductive health may be. But it seems to be lacking in very scientific ways. And a carrot to baby Jingy.
The fucking douche canoe.
I'm incredibly fortunate not to be fighting this alone. My attorney isn't doing this for the money. He took on my appeal without charging me a dime, and he's committed to taking this case as far as it needs to go, even to the U.S. Supreme Court, because he believes in something bigger than all of us, that the Constitution means something, that due process is not optional, and that when the system fails this profoundly, someone has to stand up and say so. This isn't just what happened to me. It's about making sure it never happens to anyone else. Well, this is what we're saying. This is what we're saying is that we don't want your fraud to happen to anyone else. And so far, the courts agree with us. And I suspect if David Dingus, the douche canoe,
The fucking douche canoe.
is so fucking stupid to take this any further, he deserves the ass whooping he's surely going to get by the court, the Supreme Court. I mean, it's quite a process to get things all the way up that high. And at some point, usually with these sorts of cases that are very clear-cut and cut and dried, as this one is, and as the appellate court certainly decided, and certainly agreed with the ruling of the trial court, higher courts don't fuck around. They don't entertain these things just on a whim and a lark. They'll look at the merits of it and they'll decline to even hear it. And then what? That's the end of the line for baby Jingy and Laura the con artist Owens. Then what? Who are you going to victimize next? Who will you victimize next? Or will the Maricopa County prosecutor do the right thing and actually take this whole thing with Laura Owens to a criminal trial? We can only hope. And we like to hope that as justice has rightfully been served so far for Laura Owens, that it will continue to do so. Because Laura Owens needs to give this up. This is not a hobby. This is not just a little intrigue that some elitist does for shits and giggles. This is harming people. This is damaging lives, and it needs to be stopped. Reality needs to be reality, and we need to call out people with problems who don't function in reality and try to get them fixed, if possible. Yesterday, I thought maybe it was possible. Today, I'm a little less optimistic that she can be fixed. She might be so far damaged that a padded room may be the best that can be done to keep her from harming other people. What else can one do other than throw her in prison for a while and hope that maybe that shocks her out of this cyclical pattern of destructive behavior? This is a form of domestic terrorism, isn't it? That a woman just sort of waltzes into a court, says, "I'm pregnant," and just drags a man through the mud. In our society, we often assume that men are the aggressors and women are always the victims. But as we can see, and anyone who works in the judicial system knows, it ain't necessarily so. Women can be criminals just as much as men. And Laura Owens has certainly proven that in her behavior, and in her case with Clayton Echard, and in her previous cases with the other men, Greg, Michael, other Greg, etc., etc. There's others. There's more. I wonder if we'll ever know the full totality of her escapades in this pregnancy scam she has run for so many years. Well, I would imagine, if this does indeed go to a criminal trial, which we hope it does, make sure you write Prosecutor Rachel, whose last name I just can't remember for some reason tonight. Send her your love, send her your encouragement to prosecute Laura Owens, because it's time. That should be the next campaign Dave Neal designed some merch for. Prosecute Laura Owens. The appellate court has spoken. Stop this madness now, before she hurts even more people. No good person deserves to be hurt in this way, by this sort of fraud. I see lots of fraud in what I do. I've had people, without fact, accuse me of fraud in what I do. The day may come where they face charges for alleging such, because it wasn't true. That's the way the court system works. Lots of people can bring actions against all kinds of people. But do it, in fact and in reality. Not just fiction, not just allegations, not just speculation. Have the evidence. And the system generally works out the way it should. I think that's enough for you this evening, don't you? It's been almost an hour with all my rambling. And it's Sunday night. So pleasant evening, fair people of the cubbyhole. And until the next installment of Some Craziness with Laura Owens or whatever happens, we'll bid you a fond farewell. But be good. Don't be good. Life's your choice to make, but make smart choices. Because smart choices are better than dumb choices. Like running a pregnancy con for so many years and trying to abuse men with it to do so. Like Laura Owens. And like her attorney David Gingras, who, well, if he didn't expect it to go this far, he's hitched his cart to the wrong horse. Because he's in it for the long haul. I guess. Allegedly. If anything in this article is even remotely true, maybe that's it. He's wanting to ruin himself all the way to the Supreme Court. And we'll laugh at him and point from our great and spacious buildings the whole entire way. Until he's either in prison himself or his bar card gets revoked, in which case we'll have even more to laugh and sneer at. But such as it goes. That's the choice he made when he just sort of took this on without doing any research whatsoever, it seems. Certainly seemed to not know much about what happened before. But now he's figuring it out now. Or maybe not, because he's a narcissist himself. It's amazing how those people run in the same circles, isn't it? Well, on that pleasant note, it's time to go. I've got things to do, so do you. And, well, Laura Owens will just keep yammering on until maybe some pitiful rock in some desert actually believes her. But we don't, because we know the truth. The truth is on our side. The courts have said so. My God. When will it end? If ever. Good night, all. Until next time.